Awesome. Right, hello everyone, welcome to another stream. How's it going? So today we're literally just working more on the build system. So this is just a build system written in C that it basically run and it continues running and watches the file system for changes and rebuilds the files which need to be rebuilt. So we're currently just trying to get the, here it is here, just rebuilding some of the shader code. And we're just trying to get it to work with the, oh, there's a glitch, there's a bug. Or maybe this bug happens every now and then. Oh no, got a repro, amazing. Okay, we'll see what's going on here. But yeah, basically, we got, what we got to last, in the last stream was we were trying to make it such that the encoder code generation pass needs to output its dependencies to a dependency file. So yeah, I need to make a mode in that pass today, and then we'll get the copy assets working. The code is building, the and the shaders are building, yeah. And hopefully we get time to start working on the inter-process communication as well. So the build system will tell the game, hey, these things have rebuilt, and the game goes and reloads it. But yeah, that's the plan for today. Any questions, feel free to ask away. Start off with a quick prayer. Father in heaven, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We bless your holy name. Thank you, Lord, for being our great provider. Just pray, Heavenly Father, that you help us today to achieve the things that I've set out to achieve. And I just pray that each and every one of my viewers gets to know you, Lord God, gets to know the plan you have for their life, and ultimately that they receive you, Lord Jesus, as their Lord and Savior. It's by your grace and by your mercy that their sins can be forgiven. I just pray that you reveal yourself to them in every way. And if there's anything they're struggling with, anyone their family members going through anything, I pray you deliver them from that moment, struggle. You provide for them the things they need, or you help them overcome some challenges in their life. But we thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Cool. Right, so I don't know, this happens sometimes, right? Or things just keep rebuilding. And I feel like we squash one and then another one comes up in a slightly different flavor. So there's the verbose output. Yeah, so maybe we changed how the DAG was, so now it's, I don't know if it's circular, but right, build cause. Oh, yeah. Okay, don't worry. There's a missing output file, right? That's the reason why. And the reason is because the encoder generator outputs two files, a header file or a header file and a C file. Now that C file may not be generated if the file hasn't got any versioning, right? So if it's got versioning, it needs to be generated. So that's why we need a dependency passed on the encoder system. So encoder gen, right? You see there'll be a file open or f open. Yeah, so if it doesn't have file versioning, it returns, and then if it does, it will output a source, C source file rather than a header file. Yeah. Okay. So effectively, what we want to do is in the encoder system. So it'll be target feature flags basically. So just before generate, so parse, right? Then there's generate. So I think what we want to do is have them. we need maybe a mode to be passed in, or maybe we'll make it separate. So we say, so it's parse and generate. So I think we'll separate it now. So we'll have what does generate remap table do? Do 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 do. Oh, that's quite a lot. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. That's just for generating. Yeah, so go here. So this would just be called. No, we can't do it separate. Okay, we'll pass in a function to say ball parse only. If parse only, return, yeah. So there shall be a couple of arguments, I think. Maybe we'll do a for loop and, parse. Let's go to the build. There's a build in it. I want something like this. A little parser. So I would like so dep file. What are we trying to say? Do you want a dep file? Dependency pass. Okay, then we expect a single argument. So if I right, so if the argument I for index is greater than or equal to so missing an argument for this, yeah. So that'll be lovely. So now we just have to make it such that this encoder system actually outputs the dependencies into a dependencies file. So basically they're structured like, I'm just going to copy the ones which the build system already deals with. So what Clang and GLSLC already outputs. So their files are these .d ones here, yeah? So you see how it's just the input file, a colon, then it's just a list with a backslash at the end. And this basically just is a backslash new line, delimited list of dependencies, right? For this file. So quite easy to do. I guess I can just put it here, right? Output dep file. So you've got the encode path. Well, Maybe I should do just dash M, and then I need an M. So they usually do this dash M thing, isn't it? It's like a dry run. And then I'll print out standard out. Yeah, I'll just do that. Yeah, that's what we'll do. But then I would need a dash. Huh. Right, let's check the build system for a sec. Clang. Yeah, so outputs the file because it's a dry run. Cool, so output dep file. Yeah, okay, wait. I need two passes because, yeah, then I need a dash mf basically. Oof. Nah, this is silly. I shouldn't just copy the same silly design as Clang and that. Yeah, so basically you want it to either just be a dry run, and we always want to provide dry run means it just doesn't output anything. Then this will ask for a file basically, so this will be like a dep. Right, where do you want the dep file? So you increment your I, and then you obviously say if argv missing an argument for the dep file path. So dep file path argv arg_i. There we go. So we'll pass this into here as well, I guess. So dry run dep file path. Brilliant. So if you have a dep file path, so if you have a dep file path, then simply just output the dep file path, dep file. So how do we know which one is? Yeah, gen dot. Yeah, it's in the gen. Amazing. So It's quite easy. Basically F open. So we F open a path. Is this guy? Right binary. Then F close right here. So we are going to write yeah, probably fprintf is probably the easiest way to go. So we're going to basically make one of these, right? So what is the input file? So the input file is the encode path. So it's that colon followed by the first dependency. Well, we don't really need, yeah, we could just put, we could just do straight away a new line, I think. I think we can do that. Let's go to the build systems, check if my dep file thing handles this. Oh yeah, it does, I think. So it finds that, then yeah, nice. It'll process the new lines. Amazing. So yeah, we'll just go start off with a new line right away. Then right, so basically we just do a tab, I think. These are our tabs. Right, there are a few spaces, but I think a tab will do. So tab. So we're looking for a string. So this would be the do 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 do. Okay. So we're just going to pass those in here. Encoder generate H file, encoder generate C file. Now, the header file always gets put in because every time we generate a header file like types and macros and stuff. But if the generator features target features, it's something like this, I think. As versioning, we would like to put out the C file as well, into that deps file thing. Now, I think the last one doesn't have a, yeah, so actually you would like to take these off the end and put them at the start. They can carry on. Nice. That should be our dep file. Be an output. Just gonna make sure it's in the right place. Yeah. So now inside the encoder, we have to pass in the right arguments now, right? So let's go over to the build system again. So where we do encode code gen, we're gonna have to copy the other system now. So basically, there will be like an if file exists. Let's find it. Dep file is it. We don't have a dep file at the moment. Let's make one of those. So your input file will be like a .enc at the end. So we get the prefix and by popping the file extension. So the dep file is going to where We haven't needed a depth file. See, it makes me think these generated source files should just go in the build directory, but like, it's not nice. Well, we could maybe do. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because you can have build debug for like debug profile, right, or a variant. Then you'll have like build release, right? So when you do a awesome. Lovely. Yeah, so when you generate, it's like you'd want to generate them specifically into those different areas. Would you really, or would you just not? I think you would. Yes, I think partly what you want is debug, then probably a CodeGen folder somewhere in here. Yes, I think you actually want to subdivide this up a little bit more. So you probably want build, debug, then package or something like that. And that's when you just package up and go. Whereas you kind of want like a bunch of build assets like these guys, these .d files. Yeah, that will be better. So let's say we can, yeah, so these generated files could then go, yeah, the generated files can go inside the build directory, and then the game will have to probably include with a macro, right? Like we'll define a macro, and it will have like the prefix to sort of that build CodeGen directory. So it'll be like CodeGen and we'll define that for the year. I think that'll be the way to go. Let's see if we can do that. That'd be cool. So I'm thinking getting rid of all these generated files basically being checked into the code base now. Maybe. It seems sensible. Let's go to build in it. So basically, yeah, so you do build debug. You might have like package or something like that. So that's the thing you package up and something like that maybe. Then you have another one for like code gen. So that's where the code generation stuff goes. Oh, or maybe you call it like, but then it'd be a bit weird, right? So you go into the build directory, debug build, right? That's a bit weird, doesn't it? But these are sort of files which are only used at build time. See if we can just name for assets or for, I guess you'll call them like build artifacts. Is that what you call them? For files generated that are only used to build an application. What do you call those? Yeah, build artifacts. The final generated. Yeah, but then it's saying it's for the final generated. Produced by the build process. Yeah, so intermediate. I guess you call it that, right? Intermediate. Object is too glued to like an actual object file, though. Transient's another reasonable name. Like intermediate's a bit of a long name, and yeah, transient. But transient implies that it's sort of like it's like intermediate, isn't it? Really. So there's ephemeral. Oh, let's look at that. Now, lasts in a very short time. Transient again is like, well, not PayPal. What am I doing? Get out of there. Yeah, it's temporary, passing by. Not meant to last a long time. Hmm. Hmm. Has anyone got any other names they've got? What about files only used by the build system? Like .d files. Or code generation, basically. So build cache. That's an interesting one, right? Build cache. We could just call it cache. Yeah, I think cache is a good one, right? So if we call it, if we have cache and package, that will probably be good. Good names. So we could either do build cache, then debug, or we could say build debug, then cache. Yeah, I think it's better if it's further out, right? So you have the package here, and then cache. Right, this is cool. So debug, yeah. And then obviously debug, cool. So we want to have like a variant package directory, cache directory. This is cool. We also want a code gen as well, I think. So no, cache. No, it all goes in the cache, I think. Yeah. Lovely. Right, so we want to make sure we make these directories. So we need to also make sure the... where is it? Cool. Liking that. Now, Yeah. So we need to make sure you actually make these package and cache ones now. Yeah. And then well, you're saying yes, just initialize these. That's interesting. Yeah, so G build cache. Cool. So we call that twice now. So it's going to have inside those directories like a full, like the same directory hierarchy, but one of them is basically rubbish we don't ship, and the other one is stuff that you ship. Right. That's cool. So right, so any more of these ones laying about. So file index, again, yes, we index probably the package and the cache. Right, so we do a clang command, this dependency file, right, it goes in the cache because we don't want to ship that. Then the output file obviously goes into the package. Nice. This is cool. So the code gen, the dependency file goes in the cache, and even these ones here, you see, they go inside. Yeah, maybe we just take the input file name. File name, do we pop an extension? Probably not. With the extension, yep. And, right, that's cool. I like that a lot. That's really good. So this encode code gen actually should now go inside the cache directory. That's where the exe is going to be built into, and we'll, because it's a build time tool, right? It doesn't need to be shipped. Amazing. So if the dependency file exists and we're allowed to build, then what we're going to do is output a new node in the DAG for the command. Now, if it doesn't exist, sorry, we actually want to do the find dependencies pass. So we need to make sure with this command though that we do a dash. What is it called again? So there's a dry run and a dash dash depth file. So the depth file would be one of these. Let's do that rename. But anyway, so the depth file for the CodeGen. Yes, so we'll need to do another pass. So this will be the depth file version of it. So if the depth file doesn't exist, we need to do a dry run. Basically, yeah. So you do a dash dash dry run. So that's not going to actually output anything. Now, if there's a dry run, oh, I didn't do that. If not dry run, oh no, you need an input file. Yeah. Right, so it is still those, yeah. So you do the executable path, dry run, the output depth file where you want it to go, and the input file so you can actually read from it and get the right information. And then we do a command, it's got command node in it, I think. It's a, let me double check. Yeah, one of these. So we do a find dependencies pass. Don't pass in a standard out because this doesn't output to standard out. It just asks for the file directly. Cool, this is really great. Right, I like these changes. This is cool. So this should be able to get the encoder CodeGen working. I just want to double check. So we used to, we've literally just made a change now where all of these sort of like .d files and stuff we don't really want to ship, those are going to get packaged into a different subdirectory. So we can have a build package and a build cache folder, and that these debug, there'll be separate debug and release folders inside those. So we just got to hunt around the rest of these guys, sort them out before we can try it out. So the shaders, right, the output file goes in the package directory, and the depth file obviously goes in the cache directory. Right, so I think that's, it says it's done it all. So when was when we built the encode CodeGen stuff? Oh yeah, that should, no. Wait, that's the old one. That's old code, the old build system. All right, here's the new one. So it's the DAG, right? So this is actually a build only tool. This should not be shipped in the, so really, and again, it's going to require probably more parameters, which I don't like doing. There's too many. So here it's saying that the output file goes in the package directory. Right, not good. So yeah, I guess we could say like, where do you want the, but most of them, right, don't. Yeah. Output file name, is it? Interesting. So maybe we just make it a file path, right? And then like, who are we trying to fool? And so we'll just own it outside. Okay. Right, so for the game exe, that obviously goes into the package, right? It's a packaged one, so then it's in this sort of game.exe thing, yeah? Yep. So we take that, put it in. So this is libgame.dll. And then finally down here it's the code gen. Now this one's interesting because it goes inside the cache directory because we don't want to ship this. It's just a code gen tool, right? Don't ship it. That's really cool. So the other place where it was used is actually to do code generation, and yeah, it looks for in the cache directory. Amazing, cool. Right, so let's just delete the build folder since we've changed how the hierarchy is going to work, and let's just see how the new one works out. So it should be outputting for all of the .enc files, which is those custom file formats to do code generation for like serialization and custom binary files, but also for type information and also for GPU packing and unpacking stuff, right? Like macros to unpack and pack into fixed point and things like that, and also bit fields. So this system will now output a .d file for one of these guys inside the cache file, cache directory. So, and that .d file is used to check the dependencies. Oh. What's going on here? Is it thinking I've got caps on or something? Oh wait, I changed to US keyboard. Foolishness. Cool, right, here we go. Okay, sure you can complain about that. Interesting. Nice. And let's try that. Right, thankfully we've got address sanitizer still on. It's able to help us find things clearly. So, right, it's just a null pointer thing, but okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Then check for null there. Thank you very much. Just keep going. Failed to execute. Okay, no reason why. So grass blade. Right. So we want to see why that failed, I guess. So hop in the debugger probably. But yeah, it's interesting. None of the other ones even tried to run either. So we'll go to debugger. We'll change this one. Executable, right. Yep. Then the arguments. Let's get in there in the debugger and see what's up. 16-bit application, no way is a 16-bit. Weird. No, 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 no. Can't be. Build cache debug, there it is. You can't be asking for backslashes, can it? No way is the application compiled for 16-bit. What did I pass into Clanged for it to do that? You know, is the game... It's rather weird. This Clang thing. Here it is, right. So with my Clang exe, say it is 16-bit on Windows. What did I do a bit wrong? Right, so probably corrupted thing, okay. So delete it. Oh, okay. See, it's not even trying to build it first. Confused. Why isn't it trying to build? Look at the DAG. It hasn't even output the DAG yet. So I can't even see the tree. But yeah, so we build the DAG. Oh, it does that. It should be doing a dump. Right, still build again and see what's up. Hang on. All right. Yeah, so I don't. Yeah, so it seems to be asserting. Right, so this does run now. Oh, sorry, not the build script, I meant to say the right, so the encoder gen is there. So what might be happening is parent process asserts while Clang is a child process of it, and it stops it from compiling halfway. Right, so let's look at this assert. We shouldn't be right, so we fail to execute the process. We should probably log but then do something else, right? Running count minus equal 1 and then probably continue. So then if running count equals 0, we can't be waiting on any objects because nothing's running. So what we actually want to do is go back to the top. So again, it's just another continue. Right. I think that's what you want to do. So that should help us. So I think that's actually output. Hasn't done it still. See, it's in these depth files, but I can't see. Right, here is it finishing right here. So it seems like it's trying to launch the CodeGen passes without the CodeGen finishing. Oh, of course. The whole reason why is because it's still in dependency files. And we need to do a dependency file pass to find out the dependencies to run to compile the code generator. Then the code generator will compile, and then those other files can be code generated, but then they can't be code generated yet because they need to find dependencies pass. Right, this makes more sense now. So, okay. So when we do one of these code gen guys, right? If the executable doesn't exist, right, we literally cannot or make that a define up top, really, something like that. Dump up here somewhere. define exe, ext. All right. So if that doesn't exist, right? So we check the file index, so we're not checking the operating system every time. So if it doesn't exist, then we can't even code gen anything. So we'll skip it. Okay, this is cool. Hey there, Davros, good to see you again. Start making my metal backend. I'm running into a lot of for my long running GL engine. Finally managed to isolate the GL nonsense into its own wrapper layer. Okay. Alright, yeah. So you've made like an abstraction and you've put the OpenGL stuff under that abstraction. Cool. Nice. You've not thought about running a so basically you don't want to rewrite the whole renderer basically. You just want to you want to get some code sharing basically. Right. Yeah, there's two ways you can write it. You can either cut it high or cut very lower. All this time I've been stuck on stupid GL as a result of chasing iOS early, then the web early. Right, yeah. Yeah. Cool. Nice. Yeah, so the only the nice bit about that approach is that you get to reuse your code. The downside is that you have to program your backend layer to support the lowest common denominator. So like what I mean by that is like yeah, say if you wanted to do like any of the new shader features, they either have to be some sort of like optional API you have to check at runtime that you can program in, or basically you don't support it at all. So like, you know, um, so you got like, you probably have to stick with like doing like a binding model where you bind your resources and then you do a draw command. Whereas in like the new APIs, you can just do like a bindless approach. So yeah, that's the only downside with doing it that way. Is so when you do these newer APIs, you're stuck with the old binding model because you're trying to make OpenGL still work. But yeah. The layer being custom to the engine, I can just, I can adjust it to express the concepts I need, and in time, likely be able to mix high and low features. Right? Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. You're still gonna have some restrictions, like I said, but yeah, you can have sort of a more like optional APIs that come in. Yeah. So, like, say if you wanted to get ray tracing in there, right? You literally just say, you know, if we're doing ray tracing for this platform, yeah, not yeah, it's not pure emulation of GL. Along the way, I was able to group a bunch of calls into their intent, moving them into the GL backend. Cool. Yeah, I think some people do like a fake command buffer when they do that, right? So they sort of make it look like the new APIs with a command buffer. I think people. I remember when I was in a few game prototypes, I did. It was you wanted to do a software command buffer anyway, usually for GL for OpenGL, because you wanted to batch all your GL calls together. It was better, I think. But anyway, it's a problem though because you're making code calls indirect, just or deferred, should I say? You're sort of like queuing up a bunch of commands to run and then running them later. It's horrible. So we're doing like a depth file. Right, there's a depth file. Nice. Then, what? Anyway, Metal's massive breath of fresh air. Yeah, nice. Yeah. It's great having unified memory. Hey, Swing Funk, how's it going? God bless you, sir. How you doing? It's been a while. I've been up to. I don't know what's going on here. It's in the depth file though, right? Then how does this build package? No. Cache, because it's dun. When did that get built according to this log here? Something seems to be a little bit fishy. Hang on. Don't learn how to sail. Nice. Sailboat's cool. Awesome. How often are you going to be doing it? Yeah, I went on a boat when I went on holiday. We went on for like 6 hours. And then I got a little bit seasick, but I didn't actually throw up, just stomach was turning a bit. But we stopped off, went for a swim. Nice. I went to the shore, grabbed some rocks, swam back to the boat. First lesson, cool. Need a hobby, trying different stuff. Nice. Alright, I think we do the verbose mode, I think. Do. Right, here we go. What text we can read. So, right, so there's a bunch of fine dependencies on like all this stuff. Right, including the actual code gen, which is the thing which tries to get fired for some reason. Anyway, so it kicks off the fine dependencies, and then here's all the commands running. Then they finish, and then it's like, hey, I've just found a bunch of dependency files. Right, which just basically tell you which files they depend on, obviously. Then, it's adding them to like the file index cache and all this. And then it goes to build the DAG again. Now it tries to find dependencies here, which is wrong. Like we don't even have, it's not even built yet. Like this is not even built yet. Wait. But we saw that it was built. Oh, you know what's going on? Oh, it did get built. No, but it's a -m, which means dry run. Oh, sneaky. I know what's going on. It's so dumb. So basically, in this Clang thing, I did see it here, but I just left it. We're providing an output file, but we don't have to do it because it's a dry run pass, right? So we're just taking an input, but we want it to output the depth file. Yeah. Man, I'm so dumb. The shader pass is not doing that, is it? No, it's not. I've already solved that. Cool. So, anyways, let's give that another go. Right. So this is somewhat progress. So IO failure output stream bad file descriptor. What have you done? Then I made someone's C++ crash. Yeah, so this is Clang's output here. So it's trying to output to Okay, so we output to standard out. So here's the launch code. Before we do a create process, it should tell me if it failed to create it. So I don't know why it's complaining. What's the return value? Aha. Yeah, because sometimes they're null, sometimes they're invalid value, which is -1. So, yeah. Silly mistake. All right, let's try that again. Right, so failed to create file debug main.c. It's like already exists or something like that, maybe. No. Not sure what 32 is. Let's see if AI can help. Get last error 32. Much better than just trying to find it. Sharing violation, right? So there's two places trying to do it at the same time. So the problem is I've got multiple executables with the name main, the C file main. So when we, yeah, so there's obviously the game, there's this encoder one as well. So the dep file needs to be, it needs to take the file name of the output. That's what it needs to be doing. So rather than the input comes from the output, maybe. Cool, let's try that. Oh, this is looking good. Come on. Right, that's much better. So we're building, so we're doing the dependency pass on all the shaders, right? This only happens like when we don't have them, right? So, you know, it's kind of a bit annoying. Look at these times, right? But like you can imagine we just have like a bigger project, so you'd be like, oh no. But and then it compiles them properly, right? So this is what it typically would be like. Right, so it compiles the game, it compiles the, hang on a minute. It should be compiling the game yet, because the game should be dependent on the encode. No. Yes, so the game shouldn't be built because the encode. Uh, mm, mm, mm. So I think we should probably say the game needs to probably be dependent on the fact that the encoder cogen is built, right? When that is built, we can then know about the dependencies of these things here. Yeah, so I think we need to put that dependency on there, and then it will solve that problem. But what's going on here first? Invalid argument, this guy exit 1. Great. Right, I'll fix it quick. So my argument parsing is a bit buggered. So, oh yeah. Yeah, so this would just be the final one, I think. So you're saying, so here you'll probably just call it the, do, 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 yeah, I think you'll just do that. But we only expect one of them, but it's fine. Right, so the other thing we want to do is throw on, like, this pass here really needs an extra dependency, but we've wrapped it in this sort of function now. Like, or the other way we can do it is say, right, just do the find dependencies for the build tools first. Right, so we can have like a build tools section, right? So this is just build tools, right? And then like if not allow build, then we'll just return here. So we're saying like basically allow build tools to be so do a find dependencies, then it will build the do a find dependencies pass. So they'll do a find dependencies pass. The next time it comes around, they'll do an actual build. Meanwhile, these will do a find dependencies as well. So find dependencies. Yeah, but then none of it actually gets built. Yeah, I think you're more interested in like, we kind of want to just do the code gen first, right? I think we're more interested in doing like only when this completes do you ever want to do any of this. So I think you're, crap, what did you do? Oh, the reason why this is not working is because the dependencies are not done properly. Yeah, so we need to inject into the game, like, hey, where is the code gen stuff generated into? The problem is there's still source files sat throughout the code base, which we're trying to delete. So game, right, here we go. Modules, got to find them all now. So graphics, all these .generated ones, get rid of them. Because it does a dependency pass on the game and it's like, oh, these generated files are the inputs, right? But they're already generated they're here in the source code. We don't want that anymore. We've moved them inside the build directory such that they can now be inputs inside the build directory, and then only when they're available does the game actually get built. So it'll solve the problem that we're currently running into. So we're just finding all the generated stuff. Um, Cool, I think we're in a good place. So that would then mean in the build in it, there's a Clang variant, whatever's right. So yeah, these guys we just want to do a dash D. Yeah, dash D cache build cache directory. Yeah, build cache directory equal, and we just literally do this. Yeah, nice. So this will go here, and then do another one here. So now in wherever we do those generated .h things, so all of these places basically, instead what we do is we say build cache directory. Yeah, so that's another problem with my build system now is some stuff isn't going to get picked up. We'll see if we can solve that problem. Yeah, in the editor, we're going to have problems like this now where there'll be these build errors, which sucks. We'll see. You're going to have a lot of these build errors. Yeah, like I remember when I was writing my C compiler, I was like, you can use macros in the include directive. I didn't realize that before. But yeah, it's useful for times like this. Right, I think that's all of them. Oh. Oh. Right, I think that's all of them. Let's give it a go now. So now the game executable should be dependent on files which exist in the build cache directory. So now they shouldn't. Oh. Yeah, so now the game executable shouldn't even try and build if those files don't even exist. So it'll just keep trying to do other stuff. Right. So include must be followed by a header name. What are you complaining about? Is this GLSL, isn't it? Maybe. Maybe. Let's do dash verbose. Seems so, I think. Not sure. The watch directory, yeah, a bunch of GLSL things, yeah. Then a few C files. So, yeah, launches those first and then it complains. No. Does GLSL C support? It probably doesn't, right? No. What have you done? Wait. Is it saying... Oh, okay, that'll fail, right. Man, how dumb is this? Or you do a C preprocessor pass before it and then compile that, but it just adds more stuff, man. Do your Ryzen 5 gigahertz basically. Is it 5 gigahertz maybe? And in its integrated graphics, totally making space, I think. It runs 99 on Unreal. Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't help you with that. I have no idea. Or what you're even referring to exactly, like. Yeah. Man, this sucks. Why? So that, how do I even do this now? I could just put my code generate stuff into a single directory then in the build. So build code gen. So put in build code gen and then yeah, okay, I'll just put in build code gen then. That's what I'll do. It sucks. Oh no. System directory. Basically, use these guys and just do an include directory and just include build cache. Yeah, that's the way you do it. It's stupid though. So I could do include and then you'd even be able to include the package directory as well. But yeah, you could say cache. Kind of suck. Yeah, let's just do that. Man. Compilers, eh? I don't even have to change the literals. I could just delete this thing, but it's more, makes more sense that way. There's not many left. There we go. All right, so basically in the build script now, rather than doing this, which we would do -I. So -I. Right, let's delete the builder directory and off we go. Yeah, it's meant to be a dry run. Right, so now there's another problem where it's like if the files don't even exist, the compilers complain. Yeah, because right. Yeah, so it seems like maybe you do need a separate pass then. Where would you do that? So dag build or build dag. So yeah, so it seems like actually what we need to do is right. These need to be built first and then code gen. When these are done, then you're allowed to move on to the next things. But that's basically what dependencies are supposed to do, right? But then also this only happens on a find dependencies pass, and find dependencies seem to just trigger anyway regardless. Yeah. It seems like we need to have two things this build system. We need to make it such that this or is it? Yeah, the find dependencies need to also, like, they're already a command node. They already kind of have dependencies. I've just hidden it. But internally, they just make another command node anyway. Yeah, they need to depend on other things, like, for instance, the code generator pass. So once the code gen is all done, then these can actually run, basically. Oh. Right, I'm just going to take a quick break. Gubby. Oh, welcome back. Okay, so we discovered some things here. We need some the find dependencies pass needs to accept dependencies of their own. Bum bum bum. And then we can make it dependent on we could just say all of the code gen is done. Don't know what you do there though. Or we could just do some kind of stages basically, but that would be a bit weird. You say, right, do all of the code gen. Just get all that done. You know, like build all the you say build all the asset executables, and do all the code gen. Right. But you're just describing a dependency system again, just a different one. You might as well just get it working with the current one, basically. So the idea is that, yes, the thing that kind of sucks is these tools are saying like, hey, you can't compile this code because the .h file doesn't exist. So GSLC-M complains about missing I wonder if there's a flag to disable that. Oh, they have MGs. For crying out loud, man. Compilers. Like, Clang supports it, but no, GLSL doesn't. Every time. Right, so when you pass this performs preprocessing to map out the file tree. Yeah, so you could generate a bunch of like dummy headers and stuff, but I don't know them because they're not generate, you know, silly app. Yeah, okay, here's what we'll do. So what we could do is say like, right, you do a encoder code gen. So you could say if the files don't exist, just make them. Right, go over all of them and make them or something like that. So that they at least exist, but they're just empty. But then these code, the whole reason why you're doing a find dependencies pass is you're trying to find the dependencies. And yeah, you don't know what it's dependent on yet. So I think though, yeah. So probably what you can do is save the file. If the cogen file does not exist, yes, you do this. If it doesn't exist, just make it. Right, so you just do a So if it doesn't exist, then probably... do we do fopen? There's read all, write all. I could just say file touch, right? Uh, So it doesn't exist, make it. That could solve our problem. But it might introduce different ones. I hope not. I can't see them here. Oh crap, that could have bugged stuff up real bad actually. That was... Oh no. Did we just... this is fine. Right, this still exists thankfully enough. So I actually didn't... I did a really dumb thing. I was trying to touch the input file. Thankfully that never triggered. So what we're trying to say is, right, get me the output. Oh, for crying out loud, this is so dumb. So this is interesting. So maybe you never needed the depths file approach in the first place, because I could have just created them in this directory. But I have it now, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, so we basically create the header and the C file if they don't exist. And then roll with that. So yeah, so create the H, create the C. Oh, did that try and create them inside? For crying out, have I just made them in like... they've not been put in the cache directory. I've been putting them inside the source directories. Damn it, I literally went and deleted these guys. But anyway, at least they've been made now. Look at that. That's cool. But yeah, so we want to just delete all those. That button. You gonna do what I've asked? Cannot find... Okay, they got deleted. Anyway. Cool. Right, so basically they're in the wrong place. They need to go into the cache directory. So we're looking for like the file name without the extension. And then we're looking for this sort of cache directory. And like an underscore generated dot h. And then it's like file name without the extension. This is what we're looking for. All right. So see, right. So these guys. That's what we're looking for there. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So that'll go into the build directory now. Go to build. Right, let's run that again. So we should be seeing. Here we go. So we've got the C files here now. They're obviously empty. They'll get generated later. So it's complaining because it still can't find them, but I should have passed it in via the build. These dash I directories. You see the or yeah. So maybe it should be like a dot forward slash. I don't know. Because the rest are doing that. Let's try again. Oh, okay, no. Sorry, they're just incredibly incredibly wrong. So it's yeah. Encode generated. Oh, all right. Oh no, it didn't do the pop extension. That's why. Whoopsie. Oh, let's just delete all these guys. Right, there's progress. They've been made properly now. You can see it actually tried to do the shader dependency pass, and those were fine. This one here is not finding it though. So it's settings.c. The settings.c is one of the ones that we missed. Try that one again. Right, so now graphics shared VK. Sorry, graphics VK shared. This one's complaining about because. For what reason? Oh, okay, so these identifiers don't exist because the header file doesn't exist with the generated stuff. Oh boy. But like, Yeah. Okay, so that is a problem also. So empty files, not a good idea. So we just take all this and delete it. So the next solution So essentially what you want to do is say like, right, when all of the code gen is done, then all of this stuff can run. So we could do like a separate dependency system, but it's just better if it's just all the same one. So like what we could do is say, right, you make a new node or something where all those nodes depend on all of all of these code gens being done. And then when all of these code gens are done, it will mark that node as being done. Um, so you're probably better off passing in some kind of dependency like a string like this into the exe or the DLL or something like that. And you're basically saying like these are the implicit dependencies. And those could be waited on. Yeah. Yeah. When they change. Okay, so basically yeah, so it should never do a find dependency pass if these implicit dependencies are not done either. So yeah. So you'll just pass in like, hey, what are the implicit something like that, right? And that will just go well, depths is probably not a good way to say it. I'll probably call it a inputs. Implicit inputs filter. All right. So you basically get all of your implicit inputs. Now, you want to go over all those and then make an input node and then add the input nodes. It's like a for index 0 count. Implicit inputs. Now, my issue with it. Wait, what are you complaining about? Cool. Now, this will work kind of, but it needs, the dependency pass needs to have some dependencies, unfortunately. So it's just going to queue a find depths right away, which is not right. Yes, the way the build system currently works is you build a DAG, so just a dependency tree, but then your dependency tree will only get executed when all the find dependencies are done. And find dependencies basically just get thrown straight onto the execute and just get checked. But now we've found the case where actually find dependencies passes can actually have dependencies. So we can either put them inside the dependency tree, but then it means you have to kind of execute the dependency tree, and it might not be ready to fully execute. Yeah, I think it'll be fine to execute. It's just we'll have to be fine by having some nodes which don't get executed and stuff, I think. Yeah. So maybe, just maybe, all this find dependency stuff is, oh, gotta be careful with this. So maybe it's the same pass. But different. So you basically select a command, right? Which one do you run? So you do this one or this one. So that allow build is going to go, basically. And you're going to effectively do this. So the command name is going to be the same up there, but then the input file, you don't have an input file, no. Sorry, you do. Output file, you don't have that. So it's, well, it's the depth file, isn't it? So output's the depth file. And then this pass here, I tried to do this before where it was its own thing. So this would need the depth file as input, but it doesn't really because it gets parsed right away. Right, yeah. So, yeah, I think this is the way you go with it, basically. We'll need to change the others to account for this too. So that's Clang, GLSL. Yeah, so these guys will need to depend on all the encoder. That's not really right, is it? So build cache, all the generated stuff. Yeah, but they won't even exist yet. Right, let's just get the GSL one sorted out. Yes, we've got a different problem now, actually. These encoder files get generated into C files. We're trying to say that these can't run without the C files being generated, but we don't know what they are yet. Until we... Yeah, I think we can make them actually. We can work out what they are. No, we can't. Yeah, so I think the only way you're going to support it now is like we want to pass. I think we'll want like a node which represents everything being code-gen is done. Maybe we can do empty command nodes, and it has a bunch of dependencies, and it's empty command node. Hmm. And then that empty command node is a way to represent many files being done. Yeah. Right, let's switch these around and then I'll come back to doing it. So basically, we would like to probably get rid of allow build. Okay, here we go. Let's get rid of that. Right, so your input file. Oh. Yes, your input is the exe. Yeah, so this was a dumb thing to do. Like checking if it exists or not. So now it's part of like the dependency tree. We don't need this check. That's really good. Because this whole check was here because the define dependencies pass would run without checking any dependencies, right? Checking any, but now it's part of the dependency system. It just, we don't have to do those silly hacks. So an input file would be, yeah, in the exe. There wouldn't be any outputs other than the dep file, I think. Okay. Cool. So what was the other one? Just have a find depth pass thing. So hmm. Okay. So again, the output would be the dep file. Right, so we'd actually need to do a parse dep file on the encode codegen. Cool. Right, that's better. So we could probably get rid of. Yes, this find dependencies thing can now go this task kind. This queue find dependencies can now go. It's not even a thing. Yep. Right. Right, there's something we are missing, is we need to make sure that it does this standard out thing. Right. So where do we add? We want to make sure on a command node you can set the. Oh no, we already have the pointer to it. We can just set it directly. Yeah, it's not a big deal. So on those places where we did the so clang, right? We need to make sure that we do a command node. Depth file path data. So it's via standard out. Then this one's proper, but the shader compiler does the same thing. So that'll be there. Cool. I'm glad I didn't miss that one. So find dependencies, they're all there. Nice. Right, so the thing we want to try and do now is like, we want to represent all of, what's the way of saying it? So, so when all of the Cogen stuff has been ran. You know what? I did have this. The part of the problem is I've split these out into separate files. You're doing like these .enc files like these. They've always been in separate files in the file system, but I've made them generate into C files in separate executions now, right? So they run in parallel. But it's caused some problems now. So these enc files, we need them all to be built. Like Cogen, the Cogen completely needs to be done before we do a find dependencies. So the find dependencies needs to have a file dependency on maybe all of the. Okay, I think this is how we'll do it. We'll pass in all of the implicit dependency paths in, and we'll just generate them. Yeah, it's not too bad to do it. So let's just generate the paths. So something like this, right? So you do. Wait a minute. But we don't know what they are until... Right, so do the find dependencies here. They'll generate a dependency file. When you have those dependency files, you could know... Yeah. Right, so where are these dependency files being generated? So it'll be generated in the cache directory. Okay. So you probably want to get all of these as... Yeah, I think I got an idea. All right, this is it. So we can just call it CodeGen dep files, dep file paths. So the basic idea is you get the count. So the filter is going to be code / all the encoder files, right? Then you want to go over all of them, get the dep file path here. Then it's CodeGen dep file path index equal dep file path, yeah. So this would be CodeGen alloc array string count. Yep. So now these are implicit dependencies for the shaders, implicit dependencies for the game compilation and the DLL, yeah? So those dependency files, when they exist, it'll be kind of silly though, because it means each of these will be parsing the same file over and over again just to get a list of up to 2 different dependencies. It'd be lots of file read operations and it's really horrible actually. So yeah, it's interesting. So you could do the parse deps file, and then you will get a list of dependencies or whatever, just some strings. Those could just be continually added to this array, and then you can pass those in. So yeah, CodeGen file paths, right? I think that's ultimately what we want to try and gather. So these guys would just be string implicit input. Implicit inputs, I guess. And then implicit inputs count, yeah? So this would just be, get rid of that. And voila. Okay. Now, there's so many parameters on this, I don't like it. But oh well. It'll do. Cool. Right, so that means... So effectively we want to go over all of these. So initially they'll be dependent on the .d files existing, right? And then if those exist, if they already exist, you parse it and then you provide C files or whatever. It's a bit more complicated than I hoped. It tends to be a lot more simple. We should probably build a cache of all the dependency or the depth files maybe, but nah, it probably doesn't matter. Probably doesn't matter. But yeah, see, there is a thing called like a depth file parse, I think, but it's where is it? Yeah, so yeah, so this is the code that parses the depth file. It looks like that, right? So it outputs to a, like, we just want to put it to like an array somewhere, basically. That would be better. So yeah. Where would this even go? In the header files and stuff. So we've got just some platform bits, string. Yeah, so maybe just call it depth file. Just have one, I guess just one function. So yeah, the basic idea is, well, no, you call it, right, so you read in the full file. Yeah, read in the full file. Then oh yeah, we can get it to just allocate us a list. Yeah. Easy. So it'd be something like this. Ooh. So depth file parse. Now we'll get it to return a string star and the path, and then E32 count out, yeah. Nice. So I think we want to put that somewhere. Let's grab all this. So dag parse depth file. That could probably go there. They could probably still exist. Yeah, we'll keep this around. So this should just call, let's copy this quick. So it'd be like a string paths equal depth file parse. The depth file path address of count, yes. So then we just go over all of the ones in here, and then do this piece of code here, where we add it to the command node, right, as an input. Right, so that's cool. So right here, we've got to actually put the sort of append to array code. So I just need to find. Right, so this guy. Lovely. Right, so this is now going to be called dep file parse string. It's an internal function. So it's going to take in the string and then I have, well, right, shuffle this around a bit. Yeah, so I think we can return, so it returns the count. Is that what we want? And then pass in the string array. So this just be the deps. So it'll be yes, alloc array of string. Yep. That ought to be good enough, I reckon. So here's called string deps. So if deps is equal to something, what it used to do. Oh no, here. Yeah, if we have dependencies, then yeah, we have the buffer allocated. Then deps count equal this. Look at that. And then string C, but I guess I could call that B. I think that'll do. Cool. Right, so count out equal count. Right, so now we've done that lovely refactor. The next thing we can do is use this when we make the DAG now. So build DAG. Ooh. Right, so we go over all these ENC files. We want to say if the dependency file exists, parse it. Yes, this is a bit silly, but oh well. Yeah, time is like 2 or something like that now. Right, so if file index exists, then parse the dep file and append we've got to append it to that other array. There should be like 2 files basically. So you do like for every you're just going to append it. That would be count equal pi, then count plus equal 1. Right now, if the file does not exist, then what you need to do is just add on the dependency file path as one of the things that the code generation, sorry, that the code compilation needs to wait on, right? So all this is basically doing is coming up with a bunch of dependencies that we know about with regards to the code gen, right? On the first pass, it might just be a path to all of the dependency files. On the next pass, it will be the ones which the dependency files say we need to say that get generated as part of the code generator. Then those will always be passed into the stuff that needs to rely on code gen stuff, and the code gen. So therefore, this will never run until the code gen is all done. So it's like putting in a barrier basically, but yeah, probably a way to simplify that better. But that should just do it for now. So these are just code gen file paths, right? Those can just go into. So yeah, it's just implicit dependencies. Actually, right. So what we're trying to say with you then? Oh, ought to be good enough, I reckon. Now, you would like. Right, so the shader stuff also needs to do the same thing. So it takes in these two. And then does this sort of thing. Where as part of the when it's building the DAG, puts in the implicit inputs. Oh, right. Anyway, where was we? So right, what's going on here? This one wants null and 0. We dump the DAG all the time. Wait for execution. Cool. Right, so see how this works now. Completely changed the build system really and its design. So expecting some things. So it's failed to execute this right away. And then it tries to build it. So it seems like there isn't a dependency on. So it tries to do. All right. So the good thing is this stuff we've basically just done seems to be working on the first pass at least. It's just when we try and like the code gen stuff is trying to run, but the code generator is not being built yet. But I thought it had an input on the executable itself, right? So Yeah, it's help with the dots file, which is great. So we've got this. It should be able to help us what's going on. Don't do that. No, close it. Right. So what is it? Right. So here's the encoder gen. The encoder gen gets built, and then it seems like these are all dependent on that. So why? Right. So if these .d files output a .d file, yeah. Built. Ah, maybe. So maybe. Oh no. Um, Yeah. So this is only building it. So it's built the dep file. I'm not seeing that as part of the graph. See, it says cexe. So none of this should be building yet. Bit strange. Like we're building the dependency file for this clang.exe, right? Not the actual exe itself. Right. Yeah, so I think we'll do a dash v. Let's just let's get rid of that. All that's inside the build. And let's do a dash of v so we can sort of track. Right, so it does a bunch of watching and indexing and just indexing the code directory, the build and the assets, yeah. So it goes, right, I can't build the cause of rebuilding the code generator, oh this is interesting, is because we're missing the dependency file, yeah. And the cause to find dependencies is because we're missing an output file, right? But these are missing any input, so it shouldn't even be ran. So that's on the, if we look for cause, yeah, so why isn't it being marked as to run when they still have inputs? Oh man, one epic fail. Success equal true. Right, so the success would be if waiting dependencies. Find all source files, files that don't need generating at all. Actually no, it's already doing it with the and there, isn't it? Potentially. I think that'd be better. May I don't think that's the fix. Right, see what happens. Dry run. So yeah, again, I think we've got to just step in the debugger here and just see what's going on. So queue for execution. So queue for execution. There's probably a bunch of commands that we probably just want to skip over. So let's just get here. What are you complaining about? Right. Build script's not even built. That's sad. Right, that'll help. Let's try it now. So 45, that would have been way too many to go through. So here we've got 7. So yeah, it seems to have marked ones to build, which it should not. So oh, interesting. So the file don't need Korean. Oh. Right, I see what's going on. I know the problem. So the issue is, and I did kind of have this in my initial design when I tried to make the find dependencies pass a node, is the find dependencies pass kind of needs to be dependent. Sorry. When we do these, where is it? The Clang one. Here we go. So if these sort of find dependency passes here, they need to be, when they exist, they also need to exist alongside the one which is going to build the actual executable later on. Such that the output executable is being generated by some pass. Because if the unless I just add the executable as part of a dependency on the dep file, even though it's incorrect. Hmm. Nah, I think we should just do one big DAG. It'll be a bit weird though. So the dep file node. So this should probably be up here. And then oh no, I can't do that. Yes, okay. because we need to read from the depth file here to even run it. Right, so we'll do this output node, no biggie. It will just pretend to output the executable. I think that'll be fine. I think so. Let's give it a go. So we would like the... So this one needs to pretend. Wait. Where's the output? Oh, the outputs are part of the depth file, aren't they? Yes, this needs to pretend it's going to output them. I think. Right, let's give that a go. File node. Oh, you didn't do the node either. Oh. Cool. So the one more is the shader. Compilation pass. So we want to pretend to output the actual file. And depth file. There we go. So let's try that now. So effectively what was the problem again? So now the encoder codegen executable is now going to have a command that it depends on to build it, which it wasn't before. Well, that didn't work out then, did it? Encoder codegen. Right there. No, it's right here, right? So this is the... Just doing it first now, rather than doing it... I wonder if there's a build DAG in between there. That would be interesting. Let's do a dash v pass. So watch directory rate then. So build cores. Right, how does it decide to queue the next ones? Right, oh, because these ones were dependent on this being done. Okay. Right. Interesting. Right, so I think we are going to have to make it such that the... Right, I see the problem now. So the dependency pass can't have a fake output node, because if not, when it's done, it's just going to trigger the other ones to run right away, and it's not really ready. Instead, what we need to do is, obviously build the graph properly. So you do the dependency file, right? So when you run Clang for the first time on a file, we don't know its dependencies. We ask it to generate a dependency file. But then we should also build this node where it does the actual execution of the Clang command, and to compile the code. And this one should be attached in the graph. The issue is though, when this one finishes, you want to parse the dependency file you just generated such that, and sort of modify the command node here, right? Yeah, modify the command node such that it gets more input dependencies, right? And I think that'll work because this one would have a dependency on this one such that, yeah. So when it's done executing, before it decrements and tries to kick this one off, it goes, hang on a minute. I'm looking at you and you have a dependency file that you haven't had sorted out yet. So we'll parse that, add more dependencies, and then check. I think that's what we want to try and do. That will solve the problem. Man. Right, so we're nearly there with this one. It's just added more complication, but it's cool because it's ironing out like the design of this system and making it right. So we want to add dependency. So make dep file pass depend. Sorry, make Clang. What's the way of saying it? So like make dry run Okay, make find deps pass. Sort of link to the sort of actual pass. When the find deps pass completes, it should parse the dep file, update the actual pass, or sort of add those as inputs to the actual pass. This is so confusing to write. Maybe we should write it as the actual how we're going to solve it. So how we're going to probably solve it is the command nodes need a dep file path, right? When they are visited, via when a dependency of theirs has completed. We want to, it should parse depths file and add those inputs to the node, to the command node. Yep. Then set depth file. Well, we probably want to have then set the latest depth file timestamp, something like that, maybe. I think that's what you want to do. So then that means you will kind of get, we won't get a full graph. But you'll get a graph that can get updated and gets added to as the thing gets built. But yeah. Right, does that solve the other issues? Build DAG. So we had the problem with the code generation where it kind of wants to make sure all the code gen stuff is done. No, this doesn't solve that problem. That will still stay the same. Cool. Right, I think that's a good place to put it. Yes, unfortunately we didn't manage to tackle this one today where we could finish the code gen being is a bit of a sort of chasing around this problem of how do we generate the code files before the game runs and things like that. But we've found a solution here which is helping shape this build system a lot better, so that's cool. But yeah, so Tuesday we'll be sorting that out and hopefully we'll move past this one on after Tuesday's stream. Then hopefully Thursday stream will be moving on to copying assets and maybe making the game run after the build. But yeah, right in the meantime, guys, come and hang out in Discord and come and chat. And yeah, if you want to support the stream, feel free to hop over to the Ko-fi page and support the stream that way. And effectively, as a thank you, you basically get access to the code. But yeah, the build system will be up when it's done, right? When this list is done, I'll check it in. It's just I can't check it in because the current executable won't actually build, right? So we're currently just in the middle of a sort of a refactor here. But yeah, stream schedule 7:30 p.m. GMT +1. We're going. That'll be Tuesday and Thursday, and obviously Sunday next week. But then Friday there'll be a one at 2 p.m. GMT +1. But yeah, there's a schedule in Twitch if you want to look at that one. Anyways, in the meantime, guys, I'll see you Tuesday hopefully, but have a good start to your work week. All right, catch you later, guys.